Hello, welcome to the RoughMix podcast. This is the very first episode, and we're going to go around and introduce ourselves first and foremost, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about what we are as a podcast. So go ahead to my left.
Hi, my name's Jimmy. I hope to become like a recording or mixing engineer, and right now I'm living in the Bay.
Shout out the Bay.
Shout out to the Bay.
Bay
Bay
boys. Bay. All right, next
What's
up.
up, guys? My name is Eli from Pinole, East Bay. Hope to become a mixing engineer and help with production. And yeah.
I'm Andy. I'm from the Bay, and I hope to be an audio engineer.
I'm Victor. I'm from San Jose, and I'm hoping to become an audio engineer. Right now, I produce or make beats.
Yeah, and I'm Jordan from Virginia, trying to be a producer / professional beat maker, and hopefully an engineer. So, yeah.
Right on, all right. And me, myself, I am Esteban. I am a producer first, and then probably mix engineer second, or I hope to be a mix engineer second. But then also I might be mix engineer first, and then producer second. It depends, how I feel like.
See where the road takes you.
See where I want to go. But we all are, well, actually, how about 1, 2, 3, 4? 4 of us are from the Bay. 2 of us are not from the Bay. I'm from LA. Jordan's from Virginia, like you said. So
technically,
Jimmy,
I guess.
though,
Yeah, I'm
Jimmy's
from
Jimmy's not
Reno.
from the Bay.
Yes,
Jimmy's
you're right.
Not
Bay.
from the
He's a
Bay.
fake
but-
Bay.
Okay.
He's living
We
in the
all
Bay.
live
Yeah,
in the
that's
Bay
right.
right now.
I'm posing.
so.
Posing.
Yeah. We're
I'm doing a
posers.
horrible
Closer to
job
the
of
Bay.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But we're all basically kind of scattered around, basically. Because even here in the Bay, everybody's scattered. We don't all live here. But basically, the RoughMix podcast is a group of us. There's not one. I would say I'm the leader, kind of. I'd say I'm like,
You're the host.
I would say I'm the host,
You're the
quote unquote host, because that was my idea to do this. But there's 6 of us right now. There's supposed to be 7 of us, but someone couldn't make it out there.
Miles.
Shout out Miles.
Shout out Miles.
That's MGZ. He's a mix engineer, but we'll get into him later when he introduces himself. We'll let him get his own introduction. But we are a group of we all come to school. We're a group besides Jordan.
Except me.
Except
I
Jordan.
don't even go
He
here.
doesn't go. He doesn't come.
Yeah, he
They
doesn't
just bring me in.
He doesn't even
Yeah.
come here.
But we are a group of I guess students, or however you want to say, students that are trying to be either somewhere anywhere in the audio world. We're trying to be. Doesn't matter if it's engineering or producing or something like
Making a podcast.
making a podcast.
Yeah,
This is a
yeah.
start. I wanted to do
Oh,
this
yeah.
podcast, so we're like, it's more experience for us. I don't know. Yeah, and we could like look back at how long it took us to set this up, like 3 hours.
And how
Yeah.
terrible our mics sound for this
Probably
first episode.
We'll get it down. Don't worry about it. We'll get it down. Yeah.
Sorry for
Shout
the
out-
noise.
Shout out
by
the
the
Rough
way.
Mix.
Yeah,
we
rough mix.
got 2
Rough.
good sounding setups, and then the rest are reverberant
Yeah.
and a lot of room. Oh well. We're starting out. That's the whole point of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we're the rough mix.
It's
and,
trial and error,
Our hope is to be the rough mix for a while and a little bit, not too long, hopefully, and then be eventually the final mix.
Hopefully.
Hopefully the
master.
final mix.
The
yeah.
master. Yeah, the
The
master.
bittersweet day.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
it be just the final mix with Vic, because he's here the longest?
He would be the
We're
longest.
done in like
Yeah, it's true.
a couple
We're
months.
going to have to come back for his last
All right,
week.
I'd say let's get into the topics now. I say I have a few topics. We could either go around the table or just someone go shout out one by one. But I was going to say like 5 pet peeves, or not even 5, at least a few pet peeves
Yeah,
that
list,
we have.
like a list. No
Like a
certain
list.
order. No,
There's not
like,
a number. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
And it's not in any particular order. It's just
5
pet peeves
things
that
you
we
that you
have
hate.
as in either production or engineering side. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off by saying my biggest pet peeve probably is when people they send mastered beats, like they master the beat, and it's like they're not giving any headroom for mixing engineers to do anything really. Because even if it's mastered, we're gonna have to turn it down. So it's
Yeah.
like, why keep it that loud if we're not gonna keep it like that?
Yeah,
like,
never
we're gonna
put
do
a
and
limiter.
then what's up?
Never put a limiter on the master track when you're making the beats.
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
when
Because
you're
like I
sending
used to
it
do
out.
that. I used to do
yeah,
that all the time on FL.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know that either, by the way, because since I don't go here and I'm not an engineer, like I just recently learned that, like, hey, like don't even master it when you send it to us, So like that's something new. There's a few other things that we might get into that like producers need to know
Yeah, we'll
for
definitely
the
talk about
engineer.
that.
Yeah.
But I was also saying like,
Easier.
don't master. You can master it if you're putting it for YouTube or something. If it's like an instrumental, then you
You're
can
putting
master
it
it,
out,
obviously,
yeah,
because
for
you're not
sure.
gonna want an unmixed beat on YouTube, and it's like like it's not even loud. It's not even you're not having mastered it in the ceiling. So that's just one of my pet peeves. Let's go around the table. It's probably easier. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good one. I would probably go along with that. I mean, the mastering and having them too loud is definitely one thing, because your recording volume, if you're recording vocals onto a mastered beat, it's going to be pretty tough because you're going to have to make your vocal like as loud as it would be when it's mastered, which is just going to mean that you're probably going to throw like a ton of compression on it and everything. But also, I mean, in the like few beats and stuff that I've seen and worked with, they come, as stereo. They come already like made into a stereo file instead of with stems. So again, that's like another one of those things that probably like beat makers, producers aren't really aware of. But if you send just like a stemmed out version of your beat, then that would also make it a lot easier and cooler kind of for the engineer, because then they can start getting into a lot of creative stuff too, as far as cutting certain parts of the beat out over like, an accented verse or something like that. If you have just the stereo beat file, then you have to cut everything or nothing. But if you actually have like stems of the drums or the different elements in your beat, then you could like cut everything but the drums for like, kind of like a pseudo drop.
Yeah.
For like, right before the chorus or the hook drops or
How
something
do you
like
feel
that.
about like producers like adding their own drops? Because I know several that like hate when engineers touch their stuff, like make their own drops, so they do it themselves. Like, do you ever deal with that?
I mean, I definitely don't have like that much experience at this point. I think that the drop, like if the beat maker makes the drop, that's totally cool. But it also seems maybe a little limiting to me, just thinking in theory, not out of experience, because if then the person that's rapping or singing over your beat, they kind of have to plan out their lyrics then to fit along with your drop.
Because you can always add the drop.
You can,
After. You can always
especially if you
add
stem it out, or even if you don't stem it out. I mean, like dropping like everything from the beat still sounds like totally fine, and like that happens all the time. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So just in theory, to me, it seems like it'd probably be better not to put those kind of like drops in your beat when you send it out. Again, that's another one of those things where if you're like just putting your beat on YouTube or SoundCloud to get people to buy your beats, and you're doing like, mastering and finishing it up and polishing them up, then you could probably like put drops and stuff in it. Then it sound really cool. But then if you send out like a stemmed version unmastered to somebody who's going to use it on their project, then probably, I mean, if it's possible to like not have those drops, then to me it seems like it's going to open it up more creatively for that artist that's going to be singing or rapping on top of it to put those drops wherever their lyrics happen to fall.
Yeah, I think also with drops, as just thinking as a producer, because that's what I started as, we tend to put the drops for the beat, but as an engineer, we actually tend to cut the last part of right before, like you'd go into a chorus or a hook, and so you're not cutting that as the producer. You're cutting the part where it's about to hit, not the part where it's so I think it's a lot different cutting on engineer versus producer. Producer, you're focusing on like what's going to hit right after the drop, and for engineering, I think you're trying to focus on maybe like soloing a vocal or whatever it may be.
Do you guys want to explain what stems are? Because I don't think everybody knows what stems are.
Sure. So stems are just basically like audio files of your session. They can be either like really specific, like just the kick drum stem, or they can be like way more encompassing as far as like a drums stem. And as far as like, if you've already made a beat and everything and you're just sending it to somebody who's going to throw vocals on top of it, I'd probably say that you probably just want to do like the big, more global stems, as far as like, this is like the whole drum kit, or this is the whole percussion, aspect of my beat. Here's the like 808 or bass part of my beat. Here's the like melody or like high pitched piano synthesizer part of my beat. Like, if you just have like 3 stems or like 4 stems or something like that, then that would help a lot as far as like, mixing certain things. If a vocal is like clashing with your melody or your synthesizer, like the engineer might want to kind of like duck it when the vocals are in, and then kind of bring it back up when the vocals aren't there. Or, they might want to just EQ the part that's masking with your vocal instead of your entire beat. So yeah, there's just like a lot of limitations when you have like when the whole beat is already interleaved into that stereo file. There's a little bit of limitation that comes then as far as putting vocals on top of it. But yeah, so stems, you'd have like your drum stem or your guitar stem, vocal stem. It's kind of like when you subgroup stuff, a lot of times you can stem it out. And then the idea is that if you open up a new session and bring those stems in, probably around unity gain, then it's going to perfectly recreate like your mix or your beat.
Like the RoughMix, right? And then that's when engineers start.
Yeah.
For all the producers out there, when they ask for stems, they're asking for your track outs. That's just a quick one, because when I first heard stems, I was confused as well. So
And we'll probably throw up a tutorial on the channel too of like how to create stems and like the difference between like what you were saying, like a whole drum stem and like all the stems for the drums.
Definitely, yeah. There's like some good vocab for working in DAWs.
Yeah, sure.
All right. And then, so let's go back to Eli. Make sure we got all his pet peeves down, because I want to skip out on him after Jimmy. Go ahead.
One of my pet peeves is layering both ways, too much or too little. I won't get into too much right now, but for too little, you can always have too little layers, because variation is key in music. That's what catches the ear of the listener. I was at fault of having very dry hi-hats and kicks for a long time. Layering your kicks is a little bit difficult because you can have clashing frequencies and stuff, but having a softer and a hard kick change from verse to chorus or intro to chorus is a pretty cool transition, and you will catch the ear of the listener. As I was saying with hi-hats, though, for all the FL people, filling two is a good start if you're making the melody maybe and you just need it as like a click track almost. But having it just go two throughout the whole song will become dry after a while. Some will work if the hi-hats aren't present, but if you have a trap beat or something like that, Atlanta styled, your hi-hats are present usually, as well as your kicks and snares and claps. So try to have variation, and layers or different patterns will always help. So yeah, just having dry drums is my pet peeve, even though I was always at fault of it before.
I don't have any pet peeves.
Andy.
I don't.
Soon though, soon.
I do, but not for this. My pet peeve is people who don't follow instructions and don't send completed things, so it's pretty much incomplete. And then you gotta wait for them to complete it and harass them with emails. And
Get it
stuff.
back to you.
Like,
Yeah.
So like organization.
Well, just
sort
not
of.
read everything that's required and then do it, rather than start it and think that you're doing everything correctly and say, "I'm done with it. Here you go."
Right,
Yeah.
Vic?
That's yep. It's
I
true.
think
Vic
I
was
think like
getting slaughtered by texts from Andy on the last day of our EMP project. So
What?
right?
No, that was my fault because I didn't think
no,
he
that
did
was him
something.
because he didn't think I did it.
Because I was going up and down instead of left and right, so I couldn't see the PDF entirety.
Right. Yeah.
I thought it was just one page, and I was like,
That's hella funny.
No, I know. Yeah, I know Andy was the one that was like not looking at everything, but he was like
showing me
saying
up.
like,
Just
no
trying to
guys,
put
we
hands
have
or
more
something."
to do. He was like, I think Vic's already done all that.
All right, let's go ahead with Vic's pet peeves.
My pet peeve is anytime you're recording someone and you're trying to get the vocals good and you're adjusting the
Your
gain
levels?
and all that, the
Yeah.
levels, and you tell them like, okay, like just talk
Do a
or
dry
like,
run?
like you're rapping right now,
Yeah.
and they'll do that shit hella low, and then when they actually go to record, so you have to raise it all the way. Then when they actually go to record, it's all distorted because they're rapping way louder
Yeah.
than what you're telling them, and then they don't understand. And then when they play it back, they're like, "Oh, that shit doesn't sound good." So it's all from the start, and that's like my biggest pet peeve.
All right, go ahead, Jordan.
I'd say for mine, I don't have too many because I am coming from like the beat making side, so I don't really talk to the engineer too much. But and I mean, I'm sure I will later on because I'm around these guys now. Which the crazy thing is like we started this, but I've only known these guys for like 3 weeks maybe.
Yeah, a month probably.
Like Esteban brought me in. And I've just been like learning since, like on that side. So that's how I've just like kind of been interested in like the engineering side. But I say one that we didn't talk about that I see engineers getting like pissed off about is in the title, like when you're sending out beats or whatnot, you don't list the BPM, which is a big one.
Oh yeah.
And something super new I didn't know was putting the key of the song too.
Yeah.
Like
That's
Especially if
essential
you're
in
gonna
hip
use
hop.
autotune. Especially if you're using
Yeah,
autotune.
yeah.
Like, you
And
need
that's
that.
like unspoken too. Like I haven't heard that anywhere else. Like no one like expresses that like, hey, you should be putting the key.
Yeah.
So and I'll get into later. I'll throw up another tutorial of like how I categorize my beats and like keep them in order, so it's like super clear to the engineer and the artist at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's probably it that I know.
I was gonna say another one because you were just talking about how people don't put BPM or key. I was gonna say people aren't like their organization skills are just not like non-existent. Like
Yep.
they just label it audio 1, audio 2. Like it's like label it so that way like. I mean, at a certain point though, as engineers, I've from what I've seen from videos, like people know. Oh, like they already know like what an 808 looks like, what a waveform of 808. So like they don't really care. But for people like us, like kind of starting off, like like RoughMix, RoughMix. So shout out RoughMix podcast.
Shout out,
Shout out RoughMix podcast. Shout out Chipotle also. That's how
Oh my
me
God,
and that's how me
Chipotle.
and Jordan met up.
Exactly. This never would have happened.
This never would happen.
And ping pong
Ping
matches.
pong,
late
yeah,
night.
ping
God.
pong
Yeah.
also.
And drink your yerbas. You will not get through these sessions without
Yeah,
them.
without your
Yerbas.
Yeah,
we
shout
wouldn't
out
be here.
Yerba.
But no, like definitely
Coming from the
organization.
sponsors.
Like
Because it helps the workflow.
people
like,
have to like.
Yeah.
It's just way easier.
Audio
It'll
1,
definitely
audio
improve
2.
any workflow you have. Like it'll save like anything you have to arrange in Pro Tools or any DAW you use, to label it. Like even color coding helps out. Like like keeping, I don't know, like just have your own set way of how you label things. Like Jordan's very organized. I know Jordan's very organized. He has a folder. He has everything it's named under. He has anything under. He has it all. Like
And that's like after watching so many YouTube videos, watching like listening to so many other podcasts, like always trying to hear like upcoming producers or like ones who've made it, like and like constantly looking forward. Because like I don't know why it's so hard, but like when you're starting out, like you really don't think of organization and like how to. It's like I don't know. It's so much to deal with. I feel like, but I mean, definitely in that tutorial, like I'll get y'all straight. Like,
definitely. Organizational skills will definitely help you with like keeping like clients coming back with you, because they're gonna be like, oh, like look at him, he's sending me all the beat stems perfectly, I know everything, so it's like I'm gonna keep on want to work with you. So you want to keep your like
That
your,
connect,
you want to keep your connections up and make sure people know that you like put yourself out there as someone who's organized, not someone who makes it look like you don't label yourself so you don't care. If you label yourself, people are gonna take you serious and people are gonna want to keep working with you.
Yeah, because once you mess up once, then no one wants to work with you after that. Like it's just.
and especially like if you're not like only an online producer, if you're trying to like pull up to these studios and like get out the house and like actually be a producer and make beats, like your organization skills have to be on point. If this artist says, hey, they want this type of beat, you better have it organized where you can go and click and you don't have to click through like 20 beats to see if it sounds like they wanted it.
This is just a side note, what he was saying about pulling up to the studio. If you have artists in your area and you are interested in working with them, or you have already, worked with them or sent them stuff, don't just continue to send them stuff over email and through Google Drive and stuff. I understand the convenience of it and, maybe late night or you're trying to send them the rough, but it really helps getting a personal touch in there and sitting in with them, even as the engineer or as a producer. If you sent them your beat and kind of what vibe you want to have on it, it always helps to be person to person. Doing it over the internet is fine, and I understand it. If you're in different cities or different states, that's of course like the easiest, most convenient way. But if you are with your local artists, like you should be, and trying to promote stuff in your local area, get in there and work with them. Don't just send them beats.
Yeah, and if you're trying to get beats online, when someone sends you the beats, don't ask for them to send it to you on your phone or to text you, because most people will just send it as a compressed file, and you just got to download that file, and then all your beats will be there. Because I send beats all the time to people, and they don't know how to download the beats, and then I got to text them every single beat, and like that shit's annoying.
It sounds like a pet peeve.
Yeah, that is a pet peeve. Yeah.
And a big thing too, like I'm seeing now, like is like engineers and producers like stressing how much they hate Google Drive. Like, like WeTransfer is something I've recently found. I don't know too many others. I know that holds up like for free. It holds up to like a gigabyte and a half.
Dropbox is good.
Yeah, Dropbox too.
Good.
And
or if you just compress your folder, you can send the whole folder, and then when they download it, they'll have all 10 beats. Because usually I send like 10 beats at a time, but you can't do that on Google Drive. You won't be able to listen,
right?
And then it just messes everything up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can move on to now like the DAWs we use, I guess, or DAWs that we prefer and stuff like that. I'll go ahead and say I started off with FL first because my brother like started like he had FL8, so I don't know, and like he always like recommended me to use FL because that's what he used, and that's like what everybody used back then. Like just free, like you know, it was easy. Like it has a step sequencer for you, and that's how everybody learned at first, especially to get your sound, your rhythm down and all that. It just helps out. So I mean, I used FL. I mean, we use Logic here at school, but I'm not the biggest fan of Logic. Ableton, I haven't really even dabbled into.
Dabbled. You haven't dabbled into it?
I haven't dabbled into it yet. Pro Tools, I'm a really big fan of. I'm just starting off, you know, like.
You make beats on Pro Tools?
No. If you make beats on Pro Tools,
Shout out to you.
Make
Yeah,
real
yeah,
beats.
for real, for real. Shout out to you on
Shout
Pro
out to
Tools.
you. That's some.
I mean, people make it on Pro Tools, but they use the MPC and stuff. They all have like MIDI, like you know, they're not in there using.
You're technically tracking.
Yeah, you're just tracking out there, but no one's like really. I don't know anybody personally who really makes a beat on there, but
I don't think I've heard anyone who's done that.
I know a few people, but those people are usually just using like a MPC.
That's
or
why
a
they're
machine.
just using
Like,
to track
it's
it
just
out.
to track it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
but I use FL for my production, Pro Tools straight just mixing, recording, vocals. I mean, I don't want to say like that's what I'm gonna use it for because obviously, I mean, I haven't really even been in a session yet, so I mean, I'm just starting out. This is all like this whole thing is just.
But there's no
We're all
rule though.
starting out.
There's no like official rule.
Oh no,
Yeah.
like yeah, it's whatever you're comfortable with. I know people who use Ableton, Reason, like anything. They use a lot
Yeah,
of
I
people.
started.
Cubase.
I used to track out on FL.
Garage, man.
It can be done. Like don't feel like you're locked in a box if you only have FL or if you only have Reason or something. If you have a mic and a preamp, you can get it done. It's music has been made forever and professionally for a long time. So
Definitely.
there's been way worse situations that you could be in.
Yeah. I mean, almost any DAW at this point is going to be like full featured, and you're not really going to be missing out on anything. I mean, Logic, I think, is always sort of like a starting point for so many people, especially people that like make electronic music or beats and stuff, and then they kind of graduate to like Ableton's what I've kind of heard a lot of. But I mean, also Logic is like just as pro as like Ableton's going to be, because if you're into like making music and engineering and stuff, you've probably seen the video on YouTube of the guy who did Sorry Not Sorry for Demi Lovato, and he made the whole song in Logic, start to finish.
It's a fire ass splice pack, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Check
it's
that out.
the
Splice, yeah.
the TED
Yeah.
Talk, right? It's a TED
It
Talk.
was like the Lex
yeah, I
Luthor
saw
pack
that.
or something like that.
Lex Luger. Lex,
Oh no, not that. It was
I know what you're talking about though. He
Yeah.
got all his stuff
Adobe?
from Splice
That's
too,
another
though.
good
He
one.
got
No,
all-
I used the website. You're talking about
Splice.
Demi.
the one dude with
Oak
the
Fielder?
Yeah,
afro?
Oak Fielder,
Or
yeah.
not
Yeah,
afro,
he uses the
mohawk.
website.
No, I think we're talking about
Well,
the guy
Splice,
who
yeah.
did
Yeah, Splice.
Was it? I don't think it was Splice. That
Yeah.
was
No, that
something
was
else.
Demi
No, it was
Lovato.
that like one of the. He has like the same video
He's
like in
a-
3 different
he has, like, a
versions,
mohawk, right?
and one of the versions is it's basically like an advertisement for Splice,
Oh.
where he gets to say like,
But
"Yo,
I've
I got
seen-
this
yeah.
clap or this snap from Splice, and I got this 808 from Splice."
A lot of like the pro producers who make music for all these radio
KRS-One.
people, like they use Logic,
Yeah, I see.
and everyone
I've been seeing a
downplays
lot.
Logic. But I was like, when I saw that, I was like, well, I mean, can you really downplay it if all these hits are being made on Logic?
Oh yeah, I mean
that's
it's an
how-
industry standard too. Logic's industry
You can,
standard.
But
you
that's
can
how
get
FL is.
real, yeah, but you can get real deep, like how Colin was showing us. You can get real deep with the
Composition.
with like there's the whole velocity on FL. You know what I mean? At the bottom, you can
But
get
on
really
Logic, you
deep
can
with
do that.
Logic. Yeah,
Yeah, and it has all like the notes and the
Yeah,
keys.
yeah.
Logic's really good for
But-
like scoring.
yeah,
But
yeah,
FL
definitely.
though is almost
That's
every
why he used the composition. Yeah,
like rap beat right now or hip hop beat that's like top right now was made in FL.
Oh yeah,
yeah, a lot of the.
all the Metros is
Yeah, like everything.
Oh
So
yeah,
there's
all
no
the 808, like all Southside,
TM88.
Cardo.
nothing's better, nothing's worse. It's all the same. It's just
Shout
That's
out.
what
whatever
it's
you
just
prefer
preference.
using. Yeah,
It's literally just
Whatever's
preference.
best for your workflow,
Yeah,
go for
yeah,
it.
whatever you like.
Don't get scared about people saying like when I came to the school, I was like, oh, all we're using is Pro Tools, Logic, and I'm like, man, I have to learn a whole new DAW, like
Yeah,
2
same
new
here,
DAWs,
yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know if I'm able to like be like as good as I can on FL. I just felt comfortable, but at the same time, I was in the back of my head, I was like, well, Metro uses FL, and he's like the biggest, like the biggest producer, like not even just him, but like a lot of people use FL, like
all 808 Mafia.
No, yeah, that's what it is.
TMA, like
Yeah.
everybody uses it,
Use
and they're making
use what you're
hits.
comfortable
They're
with,
making like
for sure.
like hits on the billboard. It's like there's no like
Yeah, as long as it sounds good, no one cares.
Yeah,
if
a
it
DAW-
came from
FL.
FL or
I feel
Logic.
like FL at this point is like sort of industry, or at that. It's not like okay.
It's getting there.
It's getting
definitely
there.
getting
Industry
there.
standard. Like it's
For
definitely
for producers, almost every producer
Yeah.
would use.
I mean, if you're in the studio, everybody's using
The
Pro
channel
Tools.
rack is definitely one of the big, I think, sellers for them.
Oh yeah, it's,
Oh yeah, that's the
the step
There's
sequencer.
nothing
Yeah,
like
or the
that.
step
Step
sequencer.
sequencer.
Yeah,
Step
sorry,
sequencer.
not the channel rack, the step sequencer.
I mean, that's definitely how I started because everyone I looked up to, because like I wasn't put on to like FL or any DAW or any music production by like any friends or any of that. It was just like listening to music and like seeing people online. But everyone that I looked up to had FL, like from Metro to like Smoke a Sack to TM88, like you said, like 808 Mafia, like all those like were using FL. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead. What are you gonna finish it?
I was just gonna say like whatever works for you. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Jimmy, your DAW of
Um,
choice or your DAWs of choice?
I'm still very much like Pro Tools, and then Logic. So I didn't have much experience. Oh well, I take that back. So I had experience in Pro Tools before coming here to the school.
User certified.
Now I'm certified. Yeah.
He's certified.
Hashtag
Hey.
And then Logic, yeah, didn't have anything or any experience with like GarageBand or Logic because I've never had like a Mac before coming here either.
Yeah. Same.
So, yeah, I mean, now we've used Logic for quite a few of our classes, especially electronic music production and music theory. So I feel pretty comfortable in Logic. And of course, like for MIDI and that kind of stuff, Logic is the way to go for the piano roll and all that. But when it comes to mixing, there's something nice about Pro Tools. I know a lot of people like Logic. When you create like a bus in Logic, it's going to automatically create that aux send for you. So it's kind of saving you a step. But there's actually a lot of reasons why you would create a send, but not necessarily send it to an aux track. Yeah. So it is a neat feature because, I mean, a lot of the times you're going to be creating your bus send for a reverb and Logic's saving you a step. But I actually enjoy the send and stuff for Pro Tools that it doesn't do that for you. And yeah, I mean, I'm just used to it. I enjoy the interface, and I don't know why, but I don't think I have like the greatest ears in the world, but I do think Logic sounds different than Pro Tools. Because with our we have like little universal audio interfaces, and I can plug my guitar directly into it. And if I record me playing my guitar into a Logic audio track and a Pro Tools audio track, they'll sound different. And I think the Pro Tools track sounds a little more like what it's supposed to sound like. Yeah. So
isn't Pro Tools like the industry standard for recording music?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean,
But there is some studios that use Logic, like in San Jose, like your Redwall Studios, they use Logic, and I don't know.
I've heard that Ableton is really taking over. Like it, obviously
For
it
tracking?
was, like it was all electronic music, but now Ableton I've heard is really starting to expand into like all kinds of genres. Like people that use that are involved in music production are just switching to Ableton. I'm not entirely sure why, although
the physical controllers too that are coming out for it are like insane. Like the amount of control that you can do on there is just like on another
Maybe
level.
they're just trying to do like they're trying to make Ableton an all-in-one industry standard where you could produce and do the
I
same
think
thing.
that's what Logic's shooting for too, definitely.
Yeah.
'Cause I know certain people like I think Rex Life Raj, and I've seen a few others in the Bay use Logic for everything, for tracking, making their beats, stuff like that. So I think it's definitely moving up.
Billie Eilish, who's huge now, her stuff's all made on Logic.
Yeah. In
Her
their
brother or whatever.
garage or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, no,
I haven't listened to her too much, but it's definitely got like an EDM feel.
they're a
to it.
special. They're a special pair for sure.
Yeah, I haven't listened to her music, but I was just
watching a
it's,
podcast.
it's so big.
Her new album is solid. Shout out Rico Nasty, dropped last night.
All right, go ahead,
Your management.
Eli. Your choice of DAW.
FL gang for producing,
Yes,
as
sir.
we all are here. I did start on Reason, and I had a pretty rough 2 years in the beginning of high school doing that. Reason is fine to start off on, but I think FL and Logic is definitely a little bit more in your face with how to get your drums down, and it's just easier to navigate. Reason is like almost like a outboard gear rack in your face. So you're looking at this stuff from the front, and if you don't know what you're looking at, you will have a really, really hard time getting around the DAW. I'm moving into engineering a little bit more. I haven't really been focusing on beats as much. The last month or two, I've been having a lot of sessions with artists that I've been working with, and
Campaign.
like we all said. Yep. Shout out Aaron, Campaign.
Yeah, shout out Campaign.
Shout out Bags. Shout out Sonic. Shout out CJ.
Oh, shout out Scooby.
Yep. Shout out everybody we're working with. A lot of talent coming through here, and we hope to take all of us to the next level, not through them, but all of us working together. That's the goal here. But yeah, Pro Tools, definitely. I was scared at first because of the name, I think, going into it and knowing that it's an industry standard, and I wasn't keen really with all of the tools of engineering. Like I didn't really have a great understanding of compression and, de-essing and stuff like that. But Pro Tools, I have come already in the last few months to really enjoy working with, and my workflow on there is honestly faster than FL when I'm making beats. I feel like I can do stuff with ease because of the tools that they give you. And just, yeah, working with a console definitely helps as well. You kind of get the idea of the physical side of it and visualizing it. So when you take it to your screen and you only have like little screen like VSTs or the plug-in windows to look at, some people don't understand what it will do if you don't hear it really all the way. But yeah, Pro Tools is becoming my favorite, I think, for sure.
I've just used Pro Tools here and Logic. I don't make beats, so I don't know how easy it's to learn on FL, but I can tell you if you're looking to start making your own music, Logic is really easy to pick up and use.
Yeah, I use FL mainly to make beats. That was the first one I started with Logic. The first time I ever got a DAW was Logic, but I hated it, so then I got FL. And
Yo, no hate to Logic. We're just,
no hate
we
to
just,
Logic.
We just prefer.
I preferred FL.
Yeah, preference.
And the only reason why I actually got Logic was because I had a Mac, and you couldn't have FL at that time on a Mac.
Yep.
But I converted my Mac to half PC, so I got it to work.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a virtual
Shout
machine.
out FL20.
Shout out virtual machines.
And yeah, I think FL is probably really easy. I used to like record like vocals and like track out everything on FL. Then when I started coming here, Pro Tools, and like at first it was hella confusing, but once you learn what everything means, it's pretty easy. And I think it's pretty cool to use, especially when you're recording vocals and stuff. Everything on there is just so much better. It just feels cooler too.
Yeah, the clip gain feature is like, once I figured that out, that changed a lot.
Yeah, and the aux tracks, because you can create that in FL, but it's not as
you have to do the little route.
It's a little more confusing. And like in Pro Tools, that's a big thing, like creating buses and all that.
The channels and the tracks on the side of Pro Tools, it's a lot easier to visualize like what steps you want to take rather than looking at a mixing track on FL. It can be fine, and I know there's ways to adjust it. Like I know Nick Mirror and them have like crazy like setups on their mixers and channel racks, but just for stock, if you hop on there and you know a bit about mixing and like signal flow, Pro Tools is going to be in your face with it, especially for like doing effects on vocals and stuff like that.
Shout out to Signal Flow.
Yeah, shout out Signal Flow. A lot of teachers here use Studio One though, right? That's what it's called, right?
Shout out
Studio
George.
Shout out George and Norman.
PreSonus.
Yeah, they
PreSonus.
love
A few producers,
yeah.
like a few fire ass producers that go on Studio One too. And I mess with it, and it's cool. It's just
honestly, I want to try it. I want to see what it's about for sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently it's really making strides going from what comes with your cheapy like beginner audio interface to actually
because
being.
I have the little PreSonus audio box. That's my interface because I just got it because it was cheap starting out, and like that's how I knew about Studio One. So I eventually like got that to try that out because a friend from my old job back in Florida was like telling me, "Hey, try Studio One.
You've been all over.
Yeah, I know. I'm traveling out
Over the world.
been around the block. But yeah, I mean, I tried it out, and honestly, like it might be as easy to pick up, if not easier, than FL or Logic. You know, like it's super simple to get into, and it's very like I don't know. It's like clean looking too. So I don't know.
And I think all of us for FL, we all learned ourselves, right? I mean, I don't think any of us were taught.
YouTube taught.
Well,
YouTube, like
tutorials.
YouTube, yeah, like that's how
Shout
I
out
learned.
YouTube.
Yeah,
That
shout out
really
YouTube.
saved my life.
YouTube, yeah.
I would not be here without YouTube.
Yeah, definitely not. Would not be here without
Because
YouTube.
that's how I learned everything on FL was
Busy-
YouTube.
Busy
Looking
Works
everything up,
Beats.
watching videos
Busy
all day.
Works Beats, the
Hey,
go.
shout out
Busy Works.
Busy
Yeah,
Works. was
shout
the
out
man.
Busy Works.
Shout out Busy Works.
Internet money.
All right, let's go back.
Yeah,
Look,
internet
Jordan,
money for sure. What up?
DAW of choice. Go ahead. You've been talking about a lot of DAWs. I mean, what's your DAW of choice? I don't know.
FL for sure.
FL game.
I haven't
FL
started engineering, but for making beats, FL definitely. No matter what I try, like I tried I was talking about this earlier off the podcast, but I tried making melodies in Ableton because, like, I follow Palace, who's in 808 Mafia, who got signed for making melodies, and I thought it was like really cool how he approached different things. And he was just talking about how, like, with melodies, you have a lot more control over certain aspects of it in Ableton. So I was like, okay, maybe it'll come out cleaner or whatnot. Tried it on there, and like, it's really cool if you want to do that, but I'd say like do what's best for workflow.
Yeah.
So like if you're on FL, make sure you're doing it clean on FL. Like everything could sound good, like everything could come out good. But yeah, FL
That's
game.
what I was doing for a while with Logic instruments. I would just track them out on there and make melodies on there and put them on FL and then make the drums on FL.
Yeah, because Logic has a lot of everything in Logic is like stock, and it's like really good stock sounds.
Alchemy.
Like, they buy third-party VSTs and make it their stock plugins.
ESM1 or something like that.
Yeah, ESM1, ESM2.
And then the Alchemy,
Solid Sense.
and then all the instruments too that are
They're right.
yeah.
Stock ones are
they're pretty good.
But,
I mean,
but when you get to
definitely-
like Alchemy or, I mean, I only found out
Sculpture?
because, Sculpture because of this last class. Those are really good, actually.
Are those plugins? I'm not sure what
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are
they're
on Logic.
VSTs.
They're
just for
synthesizers.
Logic.
Oh, okay.
But like yeah,
okay.
Logic
Alchemy's
bought
really
them
good.
out, so.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. Like
So
how
like
Apple,
they'll like Apple will like acquire like the VSTs, and then it becomes a stock like VST for like Logic. So when you buy Logic, you don't have to buy any extra like VSTs like Nexus. Well, you could, but it comes with like high quality.
Really
It
good.
comes with
Yeah,
high
yeah,
quality
yeah.
ones.
Sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
to
why a
make
lot of
music.
people, I feel like it's more bang for your buck when you get Logic.
And that
Yeah,
whole
like, you
library
have
too. You can
huge
like
stock of
there's
like
like the-
library
yeah,
style.
yeah.
Is
that are
FL
amazing.
a yearly subscription or
No,
you
no,
just
it's
pay
one
once
time.
and you get
It's
it?
a
once.
lifetime updates forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with Ableton. No, not Ableton, right?
I'm not sure.
I know
think
you used to
Ableton-
have to pay for upgrades. I'm not sure right now though.
But yeah, I would definitely go along with that. That Logic is, I mean, like if you're just going to get started, I feel like Logic is probably the best. I don't know about FL too much,
Yeah, what
but
is it, like 120?
I mean,
100?
for
Logic?
For
Logic
Logic?
is like
Yeah,
$199.
for-
Logic Pro is 200. I'm pretty
200.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's
good.
good.
Yeah,
How
199.
much is FL?
That's which one?
200
Well,
for the
there's-
producer edition.
That's when
750 for the
400
max.
for the producer
Well, okay,
plus.
so
I think or
you
something?
definitely don't need the max going in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Literally,
Don't
just get the
spend-
one with gross beat, and that's all you
Don't
need.
I think
spend
the
$800.
Gross Beat one
Nowadays
is
age.
only 200.
Well, there's
only.
there's a-
but
Gross beat is 4 or 3.
If you're
It's
not
the producer
it's probably 3
plus or
then.
whatever. Yeah.
if you're not going to use like Edison or anything like that for sampling or anything like that, then you can get the cheapest version of FL, because the cheapest version of FL has everything besides Edison and being able to like track out and record things.
Besides gross beat,
You
also.
can't MIDI.
Yeah.
You can't MIDI input.
You can't you can't bring in like a mic and record,
Oh.
and
Oh,
you
wow.
can't and you can't
That's
I'd-
why that's
no.
why the producer edition
I'd say get the one
allows you
above
to.
that.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
say
I
get the
would say go
producer
f-
edition that gives
Yeah.
you Edison. You can be a record, and I mean you can use gross beat
No,
for
no, no.
free on there. But
Edison is definitely
I
something
know,
you want though.
like this is a tip I just thought about. I've thought about for a while. Is like, get the bundle, the whatever FL bundle that has that Edison feature, and then
I think it's the producer.
It's-
I'm not sure
edition.
which. I'm not sure what
It
it's
is
called.
producer
but,
edition. Yeah.
I'd say, and then a lot. Okay, everything now is like everybody uses gross beat. Everybody, and if you buy it separately, what is it like 100?
100.
I got it for
$100.
67 though.
That's
There's
why.
times
So
you
can
like,
get,
I got it
that's
for
why the
67.
upgrade is worth it.
No, but this is what I'm saying. Look, this is what I'm saying. Like, buy halftime because it's $10, and
Oh,
it's the
yeah,
exact
yeah,
same thing
yeah,
as
yeah.
gross beat. So you're saving yourself money.
True.
Yeah.
If you're definitely struggling and you don't know like if you want to take it seriously yet, like you're literally just getting into beat making, free trials first of all, free trial on
Yeah,
FL
free trial.
and free trial on Logic, because that seems to be like the two easiest to get into. Maybe Studio One if you're interested. See which one you pick up faster, and are just more comfortable on, and you'll figure out like what that means. The more you are able to use it, and then definitely like what plugin, like whoever you look up to and like hear their sounds like changing and like what they do in their beats, then try and like find out what they did like on that DAW, and like see if you can maybe incorporate that into others, like getting like certain plugins from one open into another, which that's like a whole different process, but it is possible. Gross beat on the other hand is like FL native, like
Yeah.
you're not getting gross beat anywhere else, but if you want to save money, halftime.
Yep.
Halftime.
You know.
Halftime by Cable
Cable
Guys, right?
Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$10.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty
10
good.
bucks. You save yourself $90. Get yourself a $90 mic.
If you're using Growspeed for the halftime feature on Growspeed, because Growspeed does a lot of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, they have Growspeed.
But if you're using just the halftime feature on Growspeed and you're buying Growspeed just for that, you might as well just get halftime by Cable Guys, because you could do more honestly with their halftime.
Or even Glitch. Doesn't Glitch have like a halftime effect to it or no?
There's some stuff. Effectrix is another one. I'm not sure how much Effectrix is, and what's the other one? That
Glitch
and Effectrix.
Glitch 2 is $50.
Yeah, so look at those. Don't box yourself in because you see your favorite producers, what they use. Like, that's not going against what you said about like following that, because that is a lot of the time how you start.
Shots fired.
No, yeah. That's how you start. That's why I got what was it, Electra and stuff, because I saw who was using it. Probably someone on Internet Money. Maybe Bass Gutta. Bass Gutta made a lot of the. Oh man, Bass Gutta, come back, man, please. We need you for the. We need you. We need you. Yeah. Don't be scared to go outside the box and try something different, and look around too. A lot of the times it will be there just hidden. Like, you don't need Growspeed to reverse. There's a reverse button on your channel rack.
Yeah, and also you can render and then reverse it.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. That's why Edison is important sometimes, for chopping, for making small stuff like trimming. A lot of people don't know that you can go in there and just trim stuff off if you don't need it. You can do that sometimes on the channel, but a lot of times Edison is a bit more precise. So yeah.
And another thing,
and you don't need like you don't need to have Nexus Atmosphere to make good beats. Like, a lot of people think that like their beats are trash until they get, like I used FL keys and just samples for a long time, or Citrus.
Yeah. Don't be scared. Yeah.
Especially like in the next episode, like we're definitely going to talk about the the top plugins, like our favorites between the DAWs, and also like put y'all into some really like balling on a budget, really good VSTs that like I've either recently found out or I really wish I knew before I started out, because Omnisphere is what, $500 or something? Some crazy stuff. And then Keyscape's like $200 or $300.
How much is Nexus?
Nexus.
I think Nexus
is
like
outdated.
200.
250.
250? Wait, isn't there like an expensive one that's like 2400 or something?
I
think so.
There is a Nexus that's like 1200. I thought there was one that was like
that's Nexus with the 50 gigabyte library is like $8,000.
That's fucking that's crazy.
50 gigabyte library.
I feel like it was more than that.
So I thought
probably 100 gig. Like, it's something crazy.
At first I thought that was nuts, but I guess what it is the VST, or like the engine itself, is what, $250, and then all that extra cost is just getting all the sample packs. So
sample packs.
I guess you could just get the Nexus engine and then selectively buy only those sample packs.
Or you can even just get sample packs. For people make free sample packs that you can just download.
Expansion packs on YouTube.
Producer kit, right? Producer kit, yeah.
So at that point, the Nexus is not like the most ridiculously expensive thing in the world, right?
Yeah, the one that you can just get and add your own stuff to is like $250 probably.
Okay.
Nothing. I
we'll
mean, it's
talk
still
more about that in the next episode. Anyway, so
for sure.
I think I want to do one last topic before we go. I know the camera cut out, but I think maybe this first episode we just kind of keep it.
We'll keep it low key.
Just keep it
audio.
Just audio.
Oh, just audio.
Okay. Sorry for out there people on YouTube. I know, like for me personally on YouTube, I want to see the people and interact with them, but we're having technical difficulties with the camera. But we're gonna once we figure out the issue, then we'll start posting like videos and stuff.
This is after all a rough mix.
Yeah, this is
exactly the rough mix of our rough mix.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I think I want one last topic. I mean, it might last a long time. I don't know, but this is I don't know. Sorry, Andy. I know Andy's got to go.
I gotta go.
Yo, man, we all gotta go.
You want to wrap it up?
No.
Yeah, but
we can wrap it up. So.
No, I'm doing whatever.
No, we
all
joking.
right, I'm gonna shout it out, and then if you guys were like, "No, that's gonna take too long,"
Episode 2,
we might we might start with the
top.
second episode or something. What are you thinking?
I was gonna say, like, do you guys want to explain the difference between a producer and an engineer?
Ooh,
Yeah, we might.
I think
we might
that'd be
as well.
cool.
We can just
Because
do that as a like back and forth. We don't have to go around. We can just kind of talk.
All right, yeah, we'll just talk for a few minutes.
I let the.
I'm gonna leave this all in. This ain't gonna be cut out.
No, yeah, it's
No,
fine.
I like this. I like it raw. Like, like I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, this whole thing
Raw's
has
the
been
way
raw.
to
I like
go.
this.
Yeah, I like raw.
We're the rough mix. We're not gonna. This ain't final mix. Once we're like final mix, then that's where we're cutting out everything.
Yeah, then
I'm
we're
gonna
gonna
make
be,
sure
have to
we're gonna be
pay for-
bipping
I'm gonna
shit.
put reverb on my voice. Like it's gonna be crazy.
my God.
Once we turn to final mix, we're gonna charge a subscription fee as well.
Yeah,
so.
YouTube
YouTube
Red.
Red.
SoundCloud,
No, but all right,
SoundCloud Go or Pro
Twitch
or whatever.
subscribe.
SoundCloud Go. SoundCloud Go. I just heard that. Yeah, I just heard that.
Isn't that it? Or Pro?
No, it is. No, it is good.
No.
SoundCloud Go?
It's SoundCloud Go.
Pro.
On the go.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But okay, let's go ahead and let's just knock this
What
out.
the fuck?
So, because there's like what 4 producers in here,
Looks like it.
2/3, 2/3 engineers.
And he's a producer. He
I'd
made
say-
some fire beats and
Yeah,
class.
I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
you do, though. You do.
You made
though.
that. You made the track
Bum,
for your
bum,
EDM. I mean,
bum,
okay,
bum,
let's just.
bum,
we'll
Everybody
just do
made a
some-
track for their EDM class.
Yeah.
That's true.
True.
You're right. You're right. Right.
Shout out, John.
But I guess for like
Shout out to the
Dog.
dog.
Shout out,
Shout out the dog. Shout out the dog. For like, I guess people who have produced for like 2 or 3 years. I've personally produced for like 3 years. I know like you've been for like Jordan. You've been like 2 years.
Seriously, like a year and a half, probably 2.
Vic,
Like now it's coming to like 3 years.
3.
Yeah, I'd say serious probably 2.
I've been doing it for 3. I'd say serious 2 weeks. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying that just in case someone hears it and they're like, "That's trash." But
Man, your beats are fire though.
no, I'd say
Yeah,
I'd say
for
mine's
real.
Shout
like.
out Trunks.
Yeah, Trunks, you're the greatest.
Thank you.
Just wanted to
That's my
put that
tag.
out there.
Bro, that's gonna be. That's
It's not
probably
like
the-
Cowboy Mafia.
Trunks, you're the
Nah.
greatest.
No, it should be. Huh? That'd be
Yeah,
tight.
Cowboy
No, my
Mafia.
I wanna
signature
get- I
sound
wanna
is
get
the cowboy. I
clapping,
just want to put that
like
out there.
Crowd cheering.
That's what we're saying. We should-
All right,
All right, stop these side
But
conversations.
yeah, so the difference between producing
RoughMix, man.
You're right.
and engineering is an engineer is someone who is like well there's different I guess type of engineers, but like a recording engineer is someone who is pushing the record button, setting up the mics on the instruments and like actually recording what's going on. And then there's like the mixing engineer, and they're the ones that are like doing the mix after the rough mix, because the recording engineer will do a rough mix just so the artist can get, you know, like what they want to hear, and then they'll send it out to the mixing engineer.
Jimmy,
and
do you
then,
want to interrupt? I
No,
saw
no,
you
no.
make a face.
I just want to be like, yo, roll credits, man. Because you just said rough mix. So.
Oh,
My
no.
bad. My bad, everybody.
I saw him make a face. I thought he was like, "Oh, that's not."
I was just like, dude, rough mix.
I know we're called. Okay,
No, he's
also,
Shout out
like,
to the rough mix.
Also, for people listening, I know like we're the rough mix, but I'd say like out of all of us, Jimmy's definitely the closest to final mix, if not at a final mix.
yeah.
That's too nice.
But I love Jimmy.
That's
Jimmy's the
because
man.
Miles isn't here.
Miles and Jimmy.
Dude,
both.
shout out-
No,
shout out-
shout
shout
out
out-
You
Miles.
see
out
those
again
text
to Miles.
messages?
Shout out
Yeah,
MGG.
no, but for
Shout
real,
out to Sleeping Beauty.
Miles and Jimmy have definitely upped my engineering game even in the last month or two. It's been fun to watch, and it's been definitely fun to expand. Like, yeah, engineering has become a. I don't know if I'd say I like it more than producing, but at this point, I think I do. Like right now, I'm having a lot of fun with it.
It's a different
Yeah,
different feeling
yeah,
though. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a whole
yeah.
like different process. That's,
Definitely.
Like it's
Yeah, because before I even came here, I was only making beats.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, yeah.
I never had anybody in my house record,
I tracked out my friends a couple times, but it was like
and I didn't know how to use a compressor. I was in FL too, so it's like
no,
it's a different game,
that's
but-
definitely what I'm saying. Coming here, like getting an understanding for what the VST or the plugins and gear are aimed to do rather than what people make them do has been helpful. Shout out George, signal processing.
yeah. Shout out George.
Shout out George. This is my man. George.
Shout
Just
out
George. I'm
signal
not gonna say his last
processing,
name,
yeah.
but George. I do know your last name, George. I love you. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about producer versus engineer, and then you were going on.
I
But I
was kinda-
want to get back on
Yeah,
track.
yeah,
I don't want to be sidetracked.
So then and then the producer, there's a producer who's like
Let's keep it music related. I know there's like producers,
No,
like
he's
film
saying- I think he's
producers,
saying
like
compared
all
to-
that.
I think
was
it's
gonna
like
say
Isn't there
compared
two
to,
different
like, there's a
types of
beat-
producers
there's
in
a-
the music
yeah,
world?
let's only talk about the
But I'm talking
music
about.
side of
Let's talk about music.
producing.
We're not talking about film or like.
No, no,
anything
he's
like
not
that.
not what I
No,
was
but
saying.
there's two different
I'm
Yeah, there
saying
are,
there's
there
a-
are.
producers.
Yeah.
There's a music producer, as in the guy who maybe is gonna pick the musicians for like the band, or like what's gonna like how this person's gonna play this instrument, or little
Michael
things
Jackson's
like that.
producer.
Yeah, Quincy Jones.
yeah.
Quincy Jones. You know, he didn't make the beats. He wasn't playing every fucking instrument in there, but
But he listened
told him
to
to.
it and
Yeah,
said, you know, you should change this.
that's producer. And then there's
Definite.
the beat making producer, and that's like what we are. I would say we all make our own beats, so we're like beat making producers. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely two There's two. There's
Yeah.
definitely two. Yeah.
And that's like the other side, like the ones who like bring people in and like know which instruments are sounding like they want on the track, you know, and like
Yep.
which drummers to pull in, like are more of, like composers too. Like that's pretty much them by definition, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know. And it definitely would be cool to get into.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen overnight. That's like years of experience is what gives you that credibility to like people to actually listen to you and take your production notes.
Exactly. Big goals.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, to go along with that, like, when you bring up something like Michael Jackson and somebody from, I guess, like before the 90s or so, before being able to make music on your own in a computer was a thing, like the job title of producer was like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
you know, like Quincy Jones and then things like George Martin was
Jimmy
the producer for the Beatles, Jimmy Iovine. And so these other producers, they were like project managers, you know, they're just like overlooking, and they made like creative decisions as far as like, I think we need that to be louder, or, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like, who knows?
It's almost like you're the first fan to hear it.
In a way, yeah, definitely. And then like you said, like maybe like getting people in the studio, like, you know, getting the right crew together, sort of a thing. Versus nowadays, ever since you've been able to make your own music and everything in the computer, now you could be a producer in the old sense of the word or a producer in the new sense of the word, which essentially, I think like you were saying, it's like you're the composer or you're the one who like made the music. So in a way, like producers nowadays, as they're being talked about and as they're being revered, they're almost on equal footing as the artists that actually get to put their name on the song.
Especially for hip hop.
Yeah. So there's definitely, you know, we just need to make like that sort of distinction between like old time producers and new time producers.
Which is also like a really cool thing that I didn't even think about till we started talking about this, is like also now with that, there's like a lot more music jobs, you know? Like to be a producer, you could literally just make beats and live a great life.
Yeah.
You know, if you know how to market and all that. And like managers now are a whole different side, and then composers are a whole different side. And like, I think a good example who's doing that in the modern age, just one, because there's probably many, definitely many, is Kanye. Like he makes his beats, but he also like knows who to call in and who's gonna sound good on this, and like always making it work. And I think that's like so dope.
Yeah, and DJ Khaled. I mean, like
DJ
those guys are
for sure. He's
and Dr. Dre. Like those guys are. I'm sure Dr. Dre, of course, made his own beats, but like for the Chronic 2, Dr. Dre, like he didn't play any of his own keys. He had Scott Storch come in and play the keys, and like he told him like what would sound good. So he produced it, but Scott Storch was the one actually playing it.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's what we're talking about.
Scott Storch.
That's how we're talking about. There's like two different kinds of producers.
Yeah.
Shout out to all of our lords and saviors.
I know.
Yeah.
All the
Jesus,
inspirations out
Dre.
I feel like now
Cardo.
anyone who makes a beat calls himself a producer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
It
definitely a
I feel
difference
like the
between
term producers just
It's
thrown
so-
out
Oh,
there
it's
too.
very-
It's so
Yeah.
broad.
It's
now.
very loose.
so
It's
broad,
very
yeah.
loose. Yeah.
It is, yeah, it is a little unfortunate. I mean, maybe it's just because we've been showered with all this sort of like conservative thinking from our teachers, but it is still like a little unfortunate when we go into any of our classes and everybody talks about kind of what they're doing on the first day of class, and 90% of everybody's just like, yo, man, I just really want to be like a producer. And
Record label owner.
I've been really getting into like producing lately, and been producing like a bunch of people's albums, been telling them like, you know, to keep their hi-hats down and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. So it's a little unfortunate how broad, I guess, the term producer has gotten.
Yep.
There is a difference between a beat maker and a producer, though.
yeah.
There's definitely two.
There
But
should be,
there
but
is.
do people
People
know?
are-
No, yeah.
IG doesn't see the difference.
Yeah.
I
on
would
your
say
little
I
bio.
would say I was a well, okay, that's another thing too. Is like what makes you from a beat maker to a producer? Because like
I think it's
feel like,
knowledge.
I feel like I'm just
Yep.
a,
I was
I'm
gonna
just a
say
beat maker.
I think it is somewhat due to knowledge and having an actual inclination for music. A lot of people with the hype and the availability and ease of being able to hop on a computer or even an iPad at this point, you can get GarageBand or like an iPhone. I make beats on my phone sometimes when I'm on BART. Like,
Yeah, I know some people who record
yeah,
their
no,
songs
there
on the
was this
phone.
guy at my old job. He made crazy beats on his phone. Crazy beats.
When
But-
there's the Kendrick guy, right? Who made a Kendrick song on GarageBand on his iPhone or something?
Probably. I
Is
think
there?
I heard
yeah,
about
probably.
No, I
Steve,
think one
Steve
of-
Lacy does everything through his phone. He
It's like,
records everything to his phone.
I mean, like,
Guitar, everything.
I hope I'm not being super
you're
ignorant
probably-
here,
no, you're
but
probably right. Yeah, I don't even
feel
know.
like I heard that on one of Kendrick Lamar's songs was produced by this guy who like exclusively uses GarageBand because
Probably on
that's
Humble.
that's his
no,
thing.
I was gonna say it's quite possible. Yeah, Humble had some interesting stuff.
Comment that on in the comments. See who it is.
Yeah. I mean, I could look
It's
it up
on
right now. I am
YouTube,
sitting in front of my
Yeah,
computer,
you
but,
are, We could just look
it
but I won't because we're trying to wrap this up.
No.
Yeah.
And I think like a cool thing that I heard that like differentiates a beat maker to a producer, even like in the most basic like small sense, is like being able to make songs, like the music behind the beat and then or the music behind the song, or actually making records.
Right.
You know, like being in the studio, even if you come in with the beat already, like knowing where to place the vocals, like knowing how to rap together a song, like even know how to like produce the lyrics even, or like help with the lyrics and like coaching the artist is like is something that I've heard that's like more simple than sort of like the Kanye example of like pulling in entire people who do like instruments and whatnot.
Definitely, that's what happened with a lot of Aaron's sessions. He's a really good songwriter, but sometimes it's like 3 or 4 too many words, and I'll just turn around and say like, "Yo, just cut those words out and let's see how it sounds." And that's, I'm not saying like, oh, it's a producer, but in a way, like I was saying before, it's almost like you want to hear it in its full version in a rough sense. And would that be appealing to you if you were listening to it in the car, if it was your first time hearing it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because sometimes it sounds good to you because
Right.
it's you, but like
Right.
other people won't think it sounds good.
Yeah, and so this is just to all the artists out there and people who actually do like to lay stuff down. Don't feel overwhelmed, or don't feel like people are targeting you or coming for you if they just don't hear what you're hearing. Sometimes, even if it's a really good idea, it's not going to blow up or pop off with everybody else because everybody else doesn't think like you. And that's not saying it's good again, but if you're not targeting the main audience, or if you don't want to push your stuff out there on a commercial level, make whatever you want. Of course, there's stuff that isn't appealing to anyone. Like there's just stuff people have made that is just noise that you can't even listen to unless you're really into it like that. But
Shout out to Norm.
but don't be the person who can't take a little bit of constructive criticism, because in the end that will be your shortcoming and probably keep you boxed in a lot of the time.
Yeah, like George, or like a lot of our teachers say, and like I hear all the time, like no one gives a shit about like what you did in here, how much you lowered this, or how much compression.
Right.
Like all that matters is like, does it sound good? And if it sounds good, you did a good job.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
That's the truth. I mean,
that's like a repeating thing I hear too. It's like, make sure you like it,
Right.
because that's really like all that matters, like that's what I've been hearing constantly, like I haven't made enough records to even have any sense on that, but I'd say like definitely like make sure you're always putting your taste in everything you do.
I just want to play devil's advocate real quick so we can get back on topic and probably wrap this up. But I want to say, like, okay, I feel like being a producer is like if you're part of the production, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why isn't a beat maker part of the production?
they
like-
are though. They are. I would say they are. I would say.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
no,
we're
but I'm
not-
saying, how there's a difference between a beat maker and a producer? Isn't a beat maker technically a producer because he's part of the
I think
production?
a beat maker is on the production side, but
I think what is like a good answer is like, not every producer is a beat maker, but almost a beat maker would be considered a
Right.
producer.
I think there needs to be
that
a
makes
new
sense.
term, not producer.
Yeah.
Because I think producer is from the 60s, 70s,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
80s.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
And now everyone is just taking the word producer and slapping it all over the place, where we need to make a new term for this.
Yep.
It's not, you're not a producer. I mean, what you're doing is you're producing beats,
Yeah.
but you're not a producer.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're just someone who's making beats.
But until that word comes out, I mean,
It's still going to be
I'm rolling with
producer.
producer. I'm rolling with producer.
If you think about it, if you think about it as a production team behind a song or an album, then yeah, a beat maker is absolutely a producer
Yeah.
that is part of the production team.
That's what I was saying.
yeah,
like,
for sure.
you know,
No,
it's
yeah,
part of the
for sure,
production.
for sure.
And
But
a
I'm
lot
just
of
saying
us
that's what
here-
people would say is like, oh, I'm part of the production, so why am I not a producer?
I produce.
Yeah,
I
like-
produce beat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
no,
so it's
yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
what people are thinking though.
Yeah,
but
yeah, no,
it's,
in the
there is
simple-
a difference though between
In
the
the
beat maker and
simplest
the
form,
producer.
a
The-
beat maker is
yeah.
for sure a producer.
Yeah.
But
But not every producer is a beat maker.
To bring it into like I guess the more old like style of thinking, a beat maker can be a producer if they are also taking part in like where the song is actually
the-
finally going.
Overall production
If
of
they
everything.
made the beat and then they're going in there and they're talking with the vocal artist that's going to be over it and all that kind of stuff, and they're contributing in that way, then I think then everybody would agree like that person is like a producer, and also that person also happened to make the beat there.
Yeah.
And that's like, everyone at this table, right? I mean, everyone here, like we make our own beats and we also mix our own
Nope.
stuff. Well,
Not Andy.
Not
We love
Andy,
Andy.
but-
We love Andy. Andy's. If we didn't have Andy, we definitely wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now. But
shout out Andy.
That's what I was
Shout out
getting
Andy.
to in the beginning. Like, if you really want to consider yourself part of this work and part of being out there and creating records, get in the studio with your artist when you send them your beats, or pull up with beats that they haven't heard, because a lot of the time you're going to catch a different vibe in person than you will by them listening through some headphones.
Yeah, and cut you always got to cut your ego too when you go in the studio.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if
for
there's
sure.
a creative like wall between you guys, nothing. It's not going to be good. You
Right.
you can't care about what people think. You got to just go in there and be open minded and just do it.
Yeah.
You've got to cut your ego out because nobody else is going to cut their ego out in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else is going to have their ego, so it's best if you just get rid of yours.
Yeah. But just going off of what Jimmy said, I think if you just make a beat and sell it to someone and then you have nothing else to do with it, you're not a producer.
You're a beat
And
maker.
just
a
a
new
beat
beat
maker.
has
Yeah.
need to be made for those kind of people.
You're part of the production of it, but I mean,
You're not a producer.
You're not
All
really
you
a
do is
producer.
make the beat.
That's,
Yeah,
that's a
I'll
good way
agree
of putting
with
it.
that.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say the
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it.
I
Yeah.
was literally gonna say the exact same thing. Is like, what if I just sent someone a beat and like I gave them the stems and all that, but they just do what they did with it. I don't have any say in it, so I'm
You're
not
a
a
beat
producer. I'm
maker.
just
I
a
think
beat
even
maker.
if
Yeah,
you
you're just a
add
beat
like
maker.
little drops, that might
That's
not
not a.
even-
That's you're still not an engineer.
Yeah.
You're still a producer.
Well,
No, you're not.
I mean, a
producer.
beat
No,
maker.
you're a beat
Yeah,
maker.
yeah. See, I have that
Yeah,
stuck in
you're
my
still a
head.
beat maker, 'cause
I
a
have
lot
that
of
stuck in
people
my
have
head.
drops now.
this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't want to, but then like
I also don't want to like confuse too much of like the newbies that are coming out.
like I have one song.
It's fire.
I have one song. Where there's a few, but I have one song that I like to beat in. But there's one song that I've made myself. I've recorded it. I've done the beat. So that means I'm the producer. Yeah. I'm like
You can call yourself a producer because you
that's what I'm
produce
saying,
something.
But like, okay, this is the thing too. Is like, do you think? I just thought about that right now. Wow. But like, do you think that that's why they're on like on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, it doesn't say produced by? You think they cut that out because they're just a beat maker? So that's why. Do you think like that's a thing? I don't know if I just confused you guys.
Like
I think that's
like,
too much to write in it if you're doing the artist, the song name, and then produced by.
I think for commercial,
But there is
albums-
song.
I think
There is
for-
definitely
You have,
on
to,
YouTube.
but
There's
you have to
definitely
look at look at the level of commercial and who's putting it out. A lot of the times when you see produced by, it might be a single or it might be by like new wave rappers or something like that, or people who are putting mixtapes out. A lot of the times when you see, even sometimes albums, they won't even feature who was featured on it. Sometimes you'll just hear it and
Yeah.
be like, oh, like whoa, he's on that.
I also think that has to do with money. I mean, when
Oh,
I'm sending
oh,
beats
for
out
sure.
for free,
For sure.
you better put produced by my name if I'm giving it to
My
you free,
ears.
right? I mean,
Yeah, you that mad about it or like?
Well,
did something happen?
Yeah, and
I'm
like
just saying that's a big thing. Or like if you're putting out a beat, if you're not paying for it, the tag's gonna be in it. But like if you're paying for the exclusive beat, that's when like producers or beat makers will cut out their tag and they don't care.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
getting
yeah.
paid. They're getting they don't.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about like, especially in future episodes, like the whole legal side. Like if you're new coming in, but you get a placement, like off the bat, I mean, it's rare, but if you get a placement, how to deal with that, like how to get a lawyer, how to
Oh, that's way different.
No-
we got to talk about that.
know the
way
percentages.
later.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because like
yeah.
we're
It'll be
okay.
in
First
a
of
future
all, I
episode.
feel like it's hard to like even say anything about that because none of us
I was gonna
are
say
even placed. None of us have ever even come close to. I feel like I'm not trying to downplay us. I'm just literally saying
good,
like
you're
none
good.
of us have ever
Yeah, for
been
sure.
anywhere near the industry except for Andy. Andy has
Yeah.
been. Okay.
I got
Andy,
a little
chill.
taste in that.
Andy, chill. Look, calm down. Right? He might snap off on me. If the mics weren't here right now, he'd go off.
It's true.
But I'm just saying. Look, I'm just saying.
A
Like,
maniac.
it's hard for us who are inexperienced to talk about something like that.
Yeah.
We can't talk about royalty points. We don't. What?
Yeah,
Like
but-
we don't even know. Like,
But we're starting. That's what we're all starting to do that
yeah,
stuff.
we're all dabbling in.
And,
And
like,
that's
we'll-
why.
We'll talk about it though
You
more
know.
because
You
We're
can
just-
walk the steps with your viewers.
exactly.
That's what we're doing.
And we're gonna
That's
talk
what we
about
are.
like
we can talk about the little that we know.
Yeah,
definitely.
literally, no,
And,
like,
like,
from
our
our entertainment
backgrounds, right?
class.
Oh, for sure,
The
about like
backgrounds.
the stuff you should be watching out for
Yeah.
at least too.
there's definitely like there's always going to be some knowledge to learn.
Yeah.
Even with people who maybe even people who are experienced, they could still learn something. Like that's why I feel like for us, we're just doing this for like kind of it's experience. It's like something to put on a resume too. Like we could be like, look, we've been doing all this
because
you know,
we're
like,
learning from each other.
we're
Like,
we're all learning.
We're learning from each other right now, and
This
and
is a
other
radio
people will learn
broadcast.
from
Yeah.
us,
This
and
is
then
another thing you can say you did. Like,
you know, it's all experience.
all of it's experience.
There's definitely gonna be some looking back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know.
that's gonna be a fun first episode to
Oh
listen to
yeah.
in a few years.
This is gonna be this is our first episode of the RoughMix podcast.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say we did pretty good.
Yeah.
Except for the camera cutting out, but
Yeah,
Shout out
sorry
to Sleeping
about that,
Beauty.
guys.
yeah.
Shout out
Shout
to
out
Miles.
MVP.
Yeah,
Shout out
shout out-
Miles.
shout
Shout
out
out Miles.
Shout out George.
Shout out George.
He's
We
in
love
there. He's
George.
in the booth right now.
He's in the booth.
by the table. The SSL console.
Big boof.
A shout out to SSL.
Yeah,
Shout out to
SSL.
SSL.
Shout out
Feel
to
free to
Neve.
send us some 6Ks
Yeah,
and some
yeah, yeah.
4Ks.
Can I
Do
get
you
a
want
9K?
a shout out to your
possibly?
potential sponsors?
Oh yeah, shout
Yeah,
out
Shout
Yerba.
out your.
Shout out
Shout out
Yerba.
Yerba.
Who else?
Hey,
Keeping us-
wait,
we
wait,
forgetting
wait.
anyone?
Hide that bottle. We don't know if they're affiliated.
It's not.
It's turned
The
around.
camera's
All right,
off.
we're
please.
good.
yeah.
You're good. Why are we even shouting them out on camera?
When
Never
did it turn
mind.
Oh, I'm gonna still shout
How
them
long
out.
ago?
Yerba.
Look, we
It's got a weird setting.
without Yerba, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
You can't make a record without a yerba.
You
Yeah,
can't.
you just
it's
can't.
not.
Backwards.
It's not possible.
Jimmy knows
Yerba's
from
in backwards.
experience.
That's
You can't.
If your
No.
session is longer than 3 hours, you better have a yerba with
You
you.
better
That's
have
all I
Yerba.
gotta say.
You can't.
And
Shouts
there's only one
I
yerba.
mean, there's other means
and
to
that's
get through a day.
Blueforia.
Blue
There's only one.
I don't agree to that.
True.
All right, but this has been the RoughMix podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I hope to see you guys on the next episode.
We're signing off. You're gonna
Signing off.
Signing off.
This has
Peace
been
out.
Esteban,
Jimmy.
Eli.
Andy.
Victor.
Jordan.
and we out.
Peace.
That's good.